Welcome to After Dark Stories. Here we explore the natural and supernatural. If you like these multi-part videos, please subscribe, as I will be posting full stories and episodes. Here we explore the natural and supernatural. If you like these multi-part videos, please subscribe, as I will be posting full stories and episodes. But don't worry, each story has its own playlist just for your pleasure. Now sit back, relax, and let's explore the unknown. With every wretched giggle that danced on the wind, an icy realization settled over him. This was no ordinary evening in the forest. This was a night where the very essence of the woods came alive, a night wrapped in darkness, secrets and whispers that could never be forgotten. As the story unfolds, Rowan's journey into the heart of Dark Hollow Forest will lead him to discover not only the mystery of the forest itself, but also the truths about himself and the darkness that lies within. The shadows grew heavier around Rowan as he stumbled through the underbrush, branches clawing at his clothes and skin. Panic surged with every crack of twigs beneath his feet, and somewhere in the distance he could still hear the echoing laughter. It was as if the very forest were alive, each tree whispering secrets as he pushed against the overwhelming terror. "Focus," he muttered under his breath. "You have to find the way out." The beam of his dead flashlight was forgotten, and instead he began to rely on the faint glimmers of moonlight that peeked through the thick canopy above. He pushed forward, the underbrush clinging to his legs, as if it were trying to drag him back toward the stones and the mocking whispers that promised eternity. With ragged breaths, he remembered a trick his father had taught him during their camping trips. When lost, always return to where you last felt safe. Logic flooded his panic-stricken mind. The clearing. He had stumbled into the stones, and the subsequent chaos that unfolded had cast him deeper into the woods. If he could retrace his steps, perhaps he could reclaim his bearings. Trying to remain calm, Rowan glanced back, seeking the faint outline of familiar trees, a silhouette he could use as a guide. Instead, he found nothing but a wall of darkness, as relentless as the whispers that danced just beyond his understanding. "Rowan!" The voice was sharp, cutting through the clamor of fear. It was high and sweet, yet laced with an unnatural edge. Turning towards the sound, he found himself mesmerized by the image of a figure standing just beyond the tree line, luminous in the dim light. "Help!" Rowan shouted, but as he took a step closer, the figure melted into the shadows, leaving only laughter trailing in the air, a haunting melody that echoed from all sides. His heart raced as he continued to push forward, ears straining for any sign of reality in the kaleidoscope of noise. Had he stepped into a dream? Or worse, a nightmare from which he could never wake? Moments stretched into eternity as he navigated the tangled underbrush, and as he walked, the sensation of time losing its grip began to creep in. Twisting paths ensnared him further, and soon he could no longer tell if he was moving toward or away from the clearing. As desperation set in, shadows began to pulse around him, flickering like the phantom images of long-forgotten souls. Rowan's breath hitched as he felt a cold wind sweep through the trees, breathing life into the whispers again. "Play with us, Rowan. Every night is a game," they taunted, chilling him to the core. And then, among the chaotic chorus, a different tone broke through, a low, gentle voice that beckoned with a forlorn sadness. It felt oddly familiar, like the echo of a long-lost memory. "Rowan, listen to the forest. We are one." He stood still, torn between fear and an inexplicable urge to understand. "Who are you?" he called out, the words carrying a weight that seemed to dissipate into the air. But the only response was the raspy rustle of leaves, igniting a firmer resolve within him. If he was going to get out of this forest, he needed to confront whatever haunted it, address the unseen force that pulled at the very fabric of his reality. Continuing to forge ahead, he thought back to the stories, the tales of the people who wandered into Dark Hollow and never returned. Embracing the danger, he decided to confront the whispers, to call out whatever might dwell in the heart of this dark mystery. "Show yourself," he shouted, his voice now echoing defiantly. "I am not afraid." For a moment there was silence, an unnatural stillness that made Rowan's skin prickle. Then, with an unearthly surge, the laughter returned, vibrating through the air and coursing through him like a spell. He pressed on, feeling the pulse of the forest guide him, as if sensing his fear. The branches parted slightly, revealing a narrow path ahead. Was this leading him back to the clearing, or deeper into the unknown? Rows of ancient trees loomed on either side, their trunks gnarled with blackened bark that appeared to shift and warp in the dim glow. Twisted roots broke through the surface, forming patterns that suggested a greater design, an order hidden beneath the chaos. The whispers coalesced into voices, forming a chilling symphony that both beckoned and warned. As he stepped forward, the voices grew clearer, almost coaxing him. "Come home, Rowan. The woods miss you," they sang. "Come join the dance." Suddenly, he caught sight of the circle of stones in the distance. His heart soared at the sign of familiarity, yet a part of him trembled, remembering the shadows that had snared him moments before. But he pushed forward, instinctively trusting this unseen call to guide him. As he approached, the stones pulsed with a strange energy, glowing faintly in the moonlight. They stood taller than he remembered, rising like sentinels, guarding the secrets of the night. Feeling a magnetic pull, he stepped into the center once more. The atmosphere thickened, vibrating with a life of its own, and the whispers crescendoed into a cacophony. It felt as if the ground beneath him throbbed, syncing with the rhythm of his heartbeat. Shadows twisted and twirled around him, shaping into figures that moved gracefully like dancers in a dream. Their forms were indistinct, faces obscured by darkness, yet their grace was undeniable. "Join us," they beckoned, their eyes glinting like small stars. "You are one of us, Rowan, forever." "No," he shouted, breaking through the enchantment, aware suddenly of the weight of the past he had directly walked into. "I don't belong here." The figures hesitated, their movements faltering as a pulse of darkness rippled through the air. The laughter shifted, now threaded with confusion. "Resist us, and you'll be lost to the dark," they warned, their voices now laced with urgency. "This forest claims its own." The circle began to shimmer, the stones glowing brighter and casting long shadows that danced wickedly. Rowan tried to step back, but felt a constricting force that held him within this nightmarish realm. But buried within him was a flicker of defiance. Amidst the ethereal figures, he felt a sudden rush of clarity. If he was lost, it was not only to these woods, it was also to fear itself. "Who are you?" he pressed, choking back terror as he faced the shadowed figures. "What is this place?" With a shared movement, the figures stepped forward, and the darkness receded just enough for their features to emerge from the shadows. One figure, taller than the rest, seemed familiar. It was a girl, perhaps his age, her eyes wide and shimmering with an eerie light. "We are the lost ones," she said, her voice echoing softly. "Once children of the woods, now remnants of those who failed to escape. We danced in the moonlight, too entranced by the magic. But you still have the choice." "What do you mean? The choice for what?" Rowan demanded, fear overtaking his anger. "To join us," she whispered softly, the edges of her mouth curling into a wistful smile. "Or to reclaim your life outside these woods. It is a game, Rowan, a game of the forest. If you can find your way out before sunrise, you will be free. But if you fail, you will be one of us, dancing through the shadows for eternity." Silence fell over the clearing, as if the forest itself waited for his answer. Rowan's heart raced within him, desperation stirring a fierce determination. This forest was a puzzle, a labyrinth, where every shadow held an answer, taunting him into submission. "I am not ready to join you," he declared firmly, clenching his fists. "I will find my way out." With that, the figures recoiled slightly, their expressions shifting from melancholy to something more like fear. A buzz of energy crackled in the air, and the vibrations intensified, an ominous sign that the challenge was far from over. "You have until dawn," they echoed, and then with a shimmer they vanished, leaving Rowan alone again in the clearing, the pulse of the forest echoing through his bones. In that moment of daunting solitude, Rowan realized he could not waste time remaining here. With the darkness still encroaching around him, he scanned his surroundings for any hint of a way out. Taking a deep breath, he stepped back from the stones, the energy of the place tingling at every point of contact with his skin. With purpose, he turned toward the trees, back to where he had come. The forest loomed ahead, whispering and writhing with every step he took. Vines coiled beneath his feet, branches extended as though attempting to reclaim him, but Rowan was resolute. He could face whatever sought to keep him locked within these woods. A flicker of movement caught his eye, and he spun toward it. A figure darted between the trees, smaller than the shadows that haunted him. A child, perhaps, but one whose energy felt ruthless, mischievous. If there was a way out, perhaps they could show him. "Hey!" he shouted, running after the shadow. "Wait!" The figure darted deeper into the woods, giggling as it weaved through the thicket. Rowan followed, adrenaline fueling his steps, even as the giggles echoed like a taunt before him. Determined, he refused to give in to the growing dread that clawed at the peripheries of his mind. He pursued the childlike figure through the maze of trees, shadows shifting and morphing around him. The whispers grew louder, overlapping with the child's laughter, a frenetic amalgamation of sound that made it difficult to think. "Come play," the figure beckoned, darting just out of reach. "Follow me, and you'll find the way." "I don't want to play. I want to get out," Rowan shouted, feeling the walls of the forest constrict more with each passing moment. "Out?" The voice coiled around him, playful, mocking. "But it's so much fun in here." With renewed determination, Rowan surged forward, his focus now fixed entirely on the figure ahead. Even as the whispers grew louder, leaving faint insights buried within the chaos, he remained steadfast, pushing against the overwhelming odds of the dark forest. Finally, he burst through a thicket and found himself on the edge of a sheer drop. Rowan skidded to a halt, staring in disbelief at the chasm that lay before him. It looked impossibly deep, shrouded in a thick fog that obscured whatever lay at the bottom. The figure stood on the other side of the ledge, a mischief-maker grinning as it danced lightly. "You have to jump." "Are you kidding?" Rowan shot back, glancing around for any other option. "There's no way I'm jumping down there." "Trust! Just jump!" it giggled, and for a moment it seemed to shrink into the shadows, as if it were a figment of his consciousness. but the joyless laughter of specters echoed around him, reminding him of the cost of failure. Rowan knew he had to act quickly. Steeling himself, he took a step back, measured his strength, and hurled himself forward. Time slowed as he leapt into the abyss, adrenaline rushing as the wind ripped past him, swallowing his scream. And then he landed, softly. Rowan gasped, eyes wide as he realized he had landed on solid ground, cushioned by a thick carpet of moss that absorbed his fall. The fog swirled around him, carrying with it scents he had never caught before, sweet forest blooms and a hint of something earthy. With the dust settling around him, he turned to see the child's figure still dancing along the cliff's edge above. "You made it!" it crooned, clapping its hands in delight before turning and sprinting away. "Wait! Where are you going?" Rowan shouted, scrambling to his feet. But the figure had dissolved into the mist, leaving him alone again. He took a moment to gather himself, his heart still racing. The air felt different here, charged with an energy that pulsed through the ground beneath him. He glanced around, taking stock of his surroundings. The landscape opened into a new grove, with towering trees that appeared almost to glow in the pale light, illuminating his path forward. There was magic here, ancient and alluring, yet he sensed a darker presence at every corner. His resolve was stronger than ever as he pressed on, determined to escape this waking nightmare. As he ventured further, shadows flickered just at the edges of his sight, figures that taunted him in whispers that seemed to flare with confusion. They reminded him of those he had just encountered, lost within their own cyclical game of shadows. "Rowan, Rowan," they sang sweetly. "Are you lost again? Please stay." The voices wrapped around him like a noose, squeezing tightly as he fought against their pull. "I'm not lost," he cried defiantly. "I won't be a part of your game." He broke into a run, forcing himself to focus. He began searching not for the child or the shadows, but instead something anchoring, something that might bring clarity amidst the chaos. With the forest swirling around him, he began to recognize patterns in the trees, in the leaves that rustled softly above. He searched for the pulse, the underlying melody of the woods that resonated with him. "There's something more to this," he whispered to himself as he sprinted forth, dodging branches that reached for him like the fingers of the lost. "There's a way to beat this." And then he saw it. A thin silver path winding deeper into the grove. The air shimmered, and with it came a laughter that felt less threatening, more inviting. Rowan followed, stepping onto the path that seemed to glow with anticipation. As he moved forward, he felt the weight of the shadows lift slightly, as if the path itself were meant to guide him somewhere. A final destination within this labyrinth of nightmares. "Follow the light," the whispers no longer taunted, but seemed to echo with a sense of understanding. And so he ran, determined, the energy flowing through him like an electric current. The trees thinned ahead, giving way to a new clearing filled with an ethereal glow. The air crackled with magic, almost palpable, the whispers becoming one with the wind, calm yet potent. Upon entering the new grove, he spotted the child once more, its figure now aglow and radiating warmth. It smiled at him, genuine and bright, invoking a sense of kinship. "It did it!" it jeered, twirling around him in joyous circles. "You followed the path." "Where does it lead?" Rowan asked, breathlessly, though he felt, deep inside, he had already found his answer. The child's laughter matched the symphony around them. to the end, to freedom. Before him rose an archway of shimmering light, ethereal and inviting, surrounded by wildflowers that danced in the light breeze. This was what he had been searching for, the route to salvation. Rowan took a hesitant step forward, glancing back at the shadows lurking beyond the marquee of light. He could still hear their whispers, a beautiful chaos lingering just beyond the threshold. "It only takes one step," the child urged softly, "and then you'll no longer be lost." He felt tears prick his eyes at the bittersweet farewell. "Will I ever come back?" he breathed, the darkness holding enough allure to draw many back. Promises of companionship, of eternal dance. "Not unless you want to," the child responded, radiating reassurance. "You can choose the path you wish." With newfound resolve, Rowan stepped closer to the light, feeling its warmth envelop him, envelop each doubt and fear. With a final look back at the shadows of the past, the hidden meanings of the past, seen and unseen the past, effortlessly, at the same time, he danced a foot. The moment he crossed the threshold, everything melted away. The darkness, the laughter, the haunting of lost souls. Instead, brilliant colors burst around him, a riot of hues that blended into a beautiful tapestry of life. He landed on soft grass, the dawn breaking just beyond the horizon, painting the world in warm yellows and pinks. He blinked against the light, gasping for breath as he realized he was no longer within the grip of the forest. Rowan was back in the familiar landscape of his town, standing just outside the trees, a dawn chorus of birdsong enveloping him in a jubilant embrace. With raptured disbelief, he turned to look back at the dark hollow forest, where shadows began to retreat, reluctant to yield to the day. He smiled, feeling the warmth of the sun on his skin as hope surged within him. Though the forest held its darkness, it had also taught him the strength of choice and the courage to confront fears, and with that understanding, he had escaped not just from the forest, but from every fear that had once held him captive. And while he may never forget the echoes of the dark night, he was free to forge a new path, one illuminated by the light of dawn and the whispers of forgotten dreams that could now guide him home. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. This will really help the channel grow. Always stay safe, but most of all, stay curious. Until next time.